To me, it feels like a death penalty. That is Mundayarta. Mundayarta means it is sacred land. We don't want the poison stuff put there on this very special sacred land.
If we want to do all of the things that modern medicine can offer us, then inevitably we produce nuclear waste. If we want our children to be treated for cancer, the concept of not in my backyard is a little bit kind of hypocritical.
We must take responsibility for our own waste. It's our responsibility to deal with it.
I know it sounds like we're in acceptance for this for money, but it's for long-term viability of our town as well.
Yeah. The song lines and the storylines, if and when they are damaged, it's gone forever.
From that moment that someone passes away,
we sort of feel the difference in the air. There's a change in the climate, there's a cool, fresh, icy wind blowing, and we have the floating clouds telling us it's sorry time.
our people have been here for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of generations.
The Hookner Springs,
it's a healing place.
It's a healing place.
I remember the first morning we got the news, and this is how some of us who are very close to this reacted. It was like someone in our family had died.
This man here was my grandfather, Fred McKenzie. And we have other elders here and relations, so we are still very proud of all these people. When the old people left us, they all said to us, after we are gone, they said, it's up to you to look after the land.
South Australia's had a long involvement in the nuclear industry, and it's been contentious from the start. We've got the country's biggest uranium mine in this state. We also have a history of opposing attempts to put nuclear waste dumps in South Australia.
The government wants a community that wants the facility. There's some initial emotion out there, but of course it takes time for anyone to get their head around an idea and get the information about the facility itself. It's a low intermediate level facility with almost negligible risks, you know, in a scientific sense.
If we want therapies around cancer and cancer prevention, if we want diagnostic therapies, if we want to take x-rays, if we want to do all of the things that modern medicine can offer us, then inevitably we produce waste. Right now it's in about 100 sites right across Australia, probably not stored particularly well, really not an ideal position, and the federal government said quite legitimately, look, we really should have a national integrated storage facility, and there's plenty of land out there and it's cheap.
There were 6 communities that were shortlisted. The one that's been settled on now in the Flinders Ranges in outback South Australia might have some support in the local town, but it certainly doesn't have support amongst the traditional owners. Well, you want to dangle $10 million in front of a remote community where they might not have a doctor or a dentist, or, you know, the schools are a long way away. Very attractive proposition.
Back in the 1900s, early 1900s, we had 2 flour mills, 2 hotels, a nursing home, 28 businesses in the town. We've gone now to no flour mills, it's obvious, and only 6 businesses in the town.
The reason why I'm in favour of it is basically because of the economic benefits that are going to come to town. I'm a little bit disappointed in one respect because, like, I see the Aboriginal communities as being one of the biggest beneficiaries. I would well imagine that there'd be quite a few Aboriginal people employed on the site.
If it brings 4 or 5 families to the town, that means that we might have an extra school teacher, an extra nurse at our hospital, extra staff at the shop.
The site selection process, in the past, the federal government has tried to impose a dump on an unwilling community. This time around, they said, have we got any volunteers in the room? You know, and they asked for people to put their hand up. It's certainly an issue that it's a former, you know, Conservative member of Parliament who's put this land forward.
This is the Wallerberdina station, near Hawker, about 40 kilometres from Hawker. You have the homestead down in this area. It's a sort of an east-west location. Yeah, I mean, I've been, as I was 20 years ago, certainly having examined the issue in detail, certainly a strong advocate for a central purpose-built repository. And it just happened that I think that country, being isolated and the nature of the topography and the geology and so on, is a suitable spot. So that's why we put it up.
There have been some media reports that you stand to gain financially from this, up to 4 times the market value of the property. Is that true?
Well, it depends on where they go and what decisions they make. But I mean, the market value of 100 hectares is minimal in that sort of country. I mean, you're talking, well, I wouldn't even put a figure on it, but it's not a lot of money, I can assure you of that.
This is a tree, a gum tree that was taken and dumped here by the water in 2007. See how big it is? It takes a lot of force for something to pick these size trees up. If you look over there, you can see some old ruins. That's actually from the 1955-56 flood. That was a pub and a little settlement that was taken in that flood. And this is the kind of floods that we're worried about going through and ripping up and destroying a nuclear waste dump.
When there's a big flood through there, it's a very, very big flood. And all of this area, including the Wallerberdina site that's been nominated, has the potential to flood.
This rock that we're sitting on, it was actually lower. We was here 2 weeks ago, and it's actually risen in 2 weeks. Every time we get a small earthquake here, this rock rises. So if it's rising here, it's going to be rising everywhere else along the fault line. And there's, I think it's 6 different fault lines that go along, and there's one main one that goes along this creek. Perhaps paintings done with ochre, and the blood spattered across represents the blood that was spilt with Aboriginal people when first settlement happened. And it's called genocide.
Australians are supposed to be having a conversation about reconciling with our First Peoples, and yet the way this conversation is going, it starts off, oh, we stole your land. Yeah, we're sorry about that. We stole your children. We put them into care. Oh, we're sorry about that. And now we're going to, impose a nuclear waste dump on your land against your will. How does that fit with reconciliation?
I believe it's culture genocide because what it's doing, it's stopping us from practicing our beliefs, bringing out our children and teaching them the stories, and it's destroying a culture.
They may not change their view, they may believe this is cultural genocide, whatever, and not change that point of view, in which case it'll make it very difficult for the facility to proceed. But bear in mind that if one point of view is important, so is another point of view.
We're not racist, none of us are racist. We've grown up with most of these people, and we treat them as brothers and sisters. There's good and bad in all of us, and I can't say there's not.
Frankly, we've got a car park here. If I was paid enough, I'd be happy to have low-level waste here, because it's absolutely safe. And I think it's part of our moral commitment to actually support a 21st century health medical research industry that's helping all of us live longer and beat some pretty nasty diseases.
We are the land.
The earth, the environment, and us, we're all one.
We're all one. We're
so
family.
if the government want to keep abusing and exploiting and raping our land,
they're doing it to us.
That's what they're doing to us.
So I want this message to be heard loud and clear, that once my time is up and I'm laid to rest right here where I'm standing, that I didn't try to fight to stop this poison stuff coming to my land.
Our Mura is our past, our present and our future. And I will say that a waste dump wasn't in our past, it's not in our present, and I sure as hell hope it's not in our future as well.
Untitled, they built a bush wigger made out of leaves and boughs. It stopped the wind from trying to get in. That's what Untitled called their house.